Adesuwa grew up believing the church was his safest place. Every Sunday, she sat in the front row, soaking in the words of Pastor Michael. He was a man of God, a leader the entire village respected. His voice carried wisdom, his prayers brought hope, and his sermons spoke of faith and purity. She never imagined he had another side. It all began subtly, a smile that lingered too long, a touch on her shoulder that sent chills down her spine, a message sent late at night asking how she was feeling. God has a special plan for you, he often told her. At first she felt honored, chosen even, but soon that honor turned into unease. One Sunday after service, he called her aside. Adesuwa, can you stay back? I have something important to discuss with you. She nodded. Why would she refuse? He was her pastor, a man of God. The church emptied as the congregation slowly trickled out. The candles burned low, casting long shadows on the walls. The wooden doors creaked as the last person left. Silence settled over the holy space. Adesuwa swallowed hard as Pastor Michael stepped closer. Adesuwa shifted uneasily as Pastor Michael's eyes lingered on her. His smile was warm, but something about it made her skin crawl.
You're special, my daughter,
he said, stepping closer. God has placed a great light in you, and I see it. Adesuwa forced a small smile. Thank you, Pastor. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You don't have to be afraid. You can talk to me about anything. Her body stiffened. His touch felt too familiar, too personal. She took a small step back, hoping he wouldn't notice. You are different from other girls, he continued, his voice dropping to a gentle whisper.
God has chosen you for something greater.
You know, not everyone gets such favor. Adesuwa nodded, forcing herself to stay calm.
Yes, Pastor, I should be going now. My mother will be waiting for me.
His eyes studied her for a moment before he exhaled and stepped back. Of course, I wouldn't want Mama Adesuwa to worry. He smiled again, but this time it felt heavier, like he had more to say, but decided against it. Go on then, he said, his voice smooth.
But remember, I'm always here for you. But you can trust me with anything.
Adesuwa turned quickly, stepping out of the dimly lit church and into the cool night air. The moment she was outside, she let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Something didn't feel right. As she walked home, her mind raced. Was she imagining things? Or was there something about Pastor Michael that wasn't as holy as everyone believed? That night, Adesuwa lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling of her small room. The oil lamp flickered beside her, casting long shadows on the mud walls. She could still hear Pastor Michael's voice in her head, soft, reassuring, yet unsettling. You are different from other girls.
God has chosen you for something greater.
Adesuwa swallowed hard. She didn't want to be alone with him again. Adesuwa sat on the wooden chair in the pastor's office, her hands resting uneasily on her lap. The dim glow of the lantern flickered against the walls, casting long shadows that seemed to close in around her. Pastor Michael stood beside her, his voice calm but firm. You don't have to be afraid, my child. I see something great in you. Adesuwa forced a nod, her body tense. Thank you, Pastor. He reached out, brushing his fingers against her arm. She flinched. You are too stiff, he said, chuckling. Relax. I'm only here to guide you. Something in his voice made her stomach tighten. Before she could react, his grip tightened. Pastor, please, I need to go, she whispered, trying to stand. But he didn't let go. Instead, his grip became firmer. Her pulse raced as fear flooded her chest. God will understand, he murmured. This is for your own good. Adesuwa struggled, but his strength overpowered her. She tried to scream, but his hand muffled her voice. The room felt smaller, suffocating, the walls closing in. Then, suddenly, "Pastor!" The loud, shocked voice shattered the silence. A young church member, Emmanuel, stood frozen at the doorway, his eyes wide in disbelief. Pastor Michael sprang back, his face draining of color. Adesuwa collapsed onto the cold floor, tears streaming down her face. What is this?" Emmanuel stammered, his voice trembling. The commotion drew attention. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, and soon villagers began to rush into the office. Gasps filled the air as they took in the sight before them. Adesuwa called on the floor, her wrapper torn. Pastor Michael standing stiffly, his face dark with panic. Emmanuel turned to the gathering crowd. "I saw it with my own eyes. He forced himself on her." A murmur of outrage spread through the villagers like wildfire. Accusations flew. Voices rose in anger. Before Pastor Michael could defend himself, strong hands grabbed him. The men of the village dragged him outside, their voices filled with fury. "Take him to the king!" someone shouted. Adesuwa, weak and shaking, was lifted to her feet by a few women who wrapped a shawl around her. The procession moved through the village, torches lighting up the night as they reached the palace. The king, an elderly but firm ruler, sat on his throne, his gaze sharp as he took in the scene before him. "What is this disturbance?" he asked. One of the elders stepped forward and bowed. "Your Highness, this so-called man of God has defiled an innocent girl in his own church." The king's expression darkened. "Pastor Michael, speak. What do you have to say for yourself?" The pastor fell to his knees, his voice shaking. "Your Majesty, this is a lie. The devil is trying to destroy me." Adesuwa, still trembling, stepped forward. Her voice wavered, but was filled with quiet strength. "He has been after me for weeks. I tried to avoid him, but tonight he didn't stop." The king's face was unreadable as he listened. Then he stood and raised his right hand. The room fell into silence. "In this land, we do not tolerate such evil." His voice was cold and firm. He turned to his guards. "You all know the law. Those who violate the daughters of this land are to be cast into the evil forest." A roar erupted from the crowd. The guards seized Pastor Michael, who began to struggle. "No, please, Your Majesty, have mercy." But the villagers had no mercy left for him. Torches lit the path as they dragged him toward the edge of the village, where the cursed evil forest stood, dark, thick with shadows, and filled with the whispers of the unknown. As the crowd disappeared into the night, Adesuwa stood by the palace steps, her heart heavy yet relieved. Justice had been served. Moral lesson 1. Abuse of power leads to downfall. Pastor Michael used his position of authority to take advantage of Adesuwa, but in the end, justice prevailed. Those who misuse power will eventually face the consequences. 2. Silence protects the oppressor. If Emmanuel had not spoken out, the crime might have been covered up. It is important to speak up against wrongdoing, no matter who is involved. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new tale. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.